Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ask Adam Live. Ask is not to ask Adam a question, it is an acronym for Always Seek Knowledge. One of the things we strive to bring to this program for you is the idea to always be questioning, always be aware, always be interested, always seek knowledge. That could be something to help your personal life, something to help better your business, or just how to be a better family member. Always seek knowledge. Always seek learning something new each day. What we're going to learn today is maybe some life hacks for busy people. Some simple strategies to help maximize your day is what we look forward to sharing with you today. So before any further ado, let's get started. Again, my name is Adam, and we certainly appreciate that you are here today to join us. Productive life hacks for busy people, simple strategies to maximize your day. You know, in our fast paced world, it can feel daunting to keep up with the demanding schedules, the endless to do lists. Fortunately, a few have chosen life hacks. These can help you cut through the noise, maintain focus, and achieve your goals without sacrificing your well being. And we're going to review some of those tips, hopefully, that they'll fit seamlessly into your already busy lifestyle. Let's begin. First of all, here's the big one: eliminate distractions. Now, I know I just hit a pressure point and you're already looking at that. How do I stop this podcast? I don't want to listen to anybody tell me I got to turn the phone off. Okay, you're going to have to turn the phone off, but not completely off. Let me share with you. Here's one of the things I found is maybe adjust the settings to turn off those non-essential notifications like everybody else but your family. Maybe you're on a certain chat channel with your family outside of your normal messaging board that you could have more attention paid to, that's going to only give you alerts. And as well with your phone, I'm going to add in email, and I'm also going to throw in the social media aspect, the constant reaching for the phone and hitting a few taps to start just scrolling. I cannot tell you how my new pet peeve is unconscious scrolling, is literally what I observe people do. And if you're guilty of this, I'm sorry, you're one of those people. Literally, phone out of pocket, two hits of the screen, and the thumb starts scrolling, almost to the point where I don't know that it's slow enough you're actually seeing what it is you're looking at. It's so unconscious. It To me it's habitual. And quite frankly, it's kind of a distraction and a disruption. So set yourself on a do not disturb, and do this for periods of time. It doesn't have to be right away. It doesn't, but at a moment when you're really trying to focus on a task with your personal life or your business, I always like to turn the phone face down so I don't see the screen. That way it doesn't bother me. One of the other helpful hints is put it in another room. So you actually have to get away from your task. You have to step away, maybe 10, 15, 20 feet away to go obtain your phone. That now separates you from the task at hand. And this can certainly demonstrate how distracting it truly is that you keep getting away from your task and you're not able to complete it. A huge demonstration. And once you realize how this is disrupting your productivity, you then start to realize, okay, phone off, not going to pay attention, face down, and you're able to have it within 5 feet or 3 feet from you within an arm's reach because you're not distracted by it anymore. You've broken that cycle. So, kind of going to go easy on this first one, but man, is that a distraction that honestly needs over and abundantly eliminated. Now, I know so many people are doing so many things with their phone these days. So, like turning the phone off to work on your computer really is starting to phase out. But also, I like to work on my computer, laptop or desktop, because I don't have a lot of the social stuff on my computer. I don't quick access any of the social media. I utilize my phone for social media. So it's kind of those two separate things is what's created the discipline for me, where I just set my phone aside and I work on my computer and stuff is there. Because I find that with my phone, if I'm kind of messing around, then a couple of clicks and all of a sudden I'm back to scrolling whatever. And I've stopped that. So whichever step you find is most beneficial, turn off notifications, separate devices, and set up those notifications. I love the sleep mode on my phone where it doesn't tell me about anything for a block of time throughout the day. Not only does this allow me a time to rest, a time to take care of my tasks, basically a time to not be disturbed. And quite frankly, I turn the ringer off. I don't have any noises that come out of the phone. Call it a forever airplane mode, if you will, but it's just, there's not, I guess I'm more engaging than receptive, and I have a team that does the reception for me. So I'm not really drawn to that. So I would encourage one of the other things to eliminate distractions is have a team or one of your team members filter and field your calls that come in and your messages. Again, we're talking about productivity here. You want to be at max productivity, you have to eliminate these distractions. Honestly, you really do. Organize your workspace. Keep only the tools you need at an arm's reach. Like I mentioned, the phone gets in your way, set it outside of your workspace, away from the desk that you're sitting at taking care of that task. This certainly eliminates the idea that you can just reach, pick it up when you have a break to in the middle of your task, that break is utilized to discover a new idea, not be distracted. Does that make sense? I hope so. So keep only the tools that you need within an arm's reach, ready at hand. This also reduces sort of that visual distraction of glancing up, seeing your phone light up and go, oh, that must be important. Right. 99.9% of the time, it's not important. The 1%, family member needs you, maybe important. Something catastrophic, okay, that's the 1%. But 99.9% of the time, especially if you have alerts, I have friends, people I know, and their phone is constantly going off. And I'm like, oh, you must be busy. And they're like, no, it's an alert to tell me that there's a sale on something. Turn that stuff off. If you ain't buying it today, you don't need to know whether it's on sale. And if you're falling around so much cash that you're worried about a purchase based on a sale, well, then there's a whole nother episode for that, I think. All right, note taken. Yeah, if you want something, you go get it. If you don't need it, don't go get it. Don't impulse buy. I'm getting on a rant. I apologize. But anyway, you don't need to know that there's a sale on anything. Turn that notification off. Get rid of it. Stop. STOP. Message back. Stop. Again, you could eliminate 95% of the notifications on your phone by just getting rid of that stuff. There, I said it. I digress. See, the more we keep things away from us that aren't directly supporting the task that we're taking care of, whether it's personal or business, again, I think any of these can be applied. That's why I love these general topics. If you're going through sending out some holiday cards or something, get rid of distractions and sit down and take care of that task. If you're trying to form your business, sit down and take care of that task. You're coming up with new ideas for your business. Sit down and take care of that task. Maybe you're writing an important letter to a loved one or someone. I know that sounds a bit archaic, but honestly, to have your full engagement in writing a letter, probably the most important thing you could do for that individual. You're going through the time and energy to write them a card, if you will. Take a moment to sit down and really think about some heartfelt notions that you could write to them, not just a quick jaunt so you can get back to your phone. Really be engaged in something. Number two, wake up early. Now, I've had this discussion with people. Some people are early risers to the point where they're getting up at 3 in the morning, and that's great. For years, when I was in business, I was a 5 in the morning person. And I would get up and I'd work out and I'd get to the office by 7, and I already felt pretty darn energized for the day. Like I had accomplished something and I didn't even get to my desk yet. So there's something to be said for getting up early. I think I want to share that the term wake up early is really to capture those quiet hours. So what's the quiet hour in your day? It may be at 10 in the morning when you naturally, for whatever reason, whatever your business or personal traits are, again, it's most important to get a good night's rest. So, however that falls in your life, when you get up, have that quiet time with no distractions. Start your day planning with deep focus what you're going to do with uninterrupted time. One of the things I found, and here we go with the phone again, but I speak from experience, right? I'm not teaching theory. I got in a really weird habit of one of the first things that I would do is get up and go to YouTube and I would play something while I'm getting ready. Just have that noise in the background, whether it was a latest news story or a commentary or just listening to a podcast. Quite frankly, one thing that I found was this interrupted my quiet time. I was already disturbed with outside thoughts of my day. And so I'm sharing with you that this is a form of distraction. Keep things quiet. Wake up at your hour and be with yourself and be okay with yourself. This is helping you to get into that deep focus mode to take care of that task of the day, no matter what it is. Even if it's your day off, I'm sure there's something personal you're going to take care of, or it's your business day, there's something pressing in your business that needs the utmost attention of your brain's power to tackle and review. That being said, keep that morning time, whenever it might be for you, quiet. Get started, get yourself ready, and you'll notice you'll start thinking about that which you're going to get into. Because most likely, getting ahead of myself possibly, but most likely you've looked the day before to see what tomorrow is going to bring. Is there some appointments? What do you need to know about? So you kind of already know what the day is, but after you've got that great restful sleep and you wake up and now your mind is still in tune to what it saw before you went to bed, right? So you're already in the mode of thinking about what it is you're tackling for that day. So don't have any distractions. Have that quiet time. Appreciate that quiet time. It may be the only quiet time you get for the day. So utilize it and appreciate it to have that deep focus to be able to plan and strategize what you're going to tackle. Kind of gets the thought juices started, if you will. And what I've also done is utilize this peaceful time of getting started, not only of seeing what my day is lying ahead, but it's also setting intentions and reviewing a mission statement and remembering my why and kind of just going through the checklist. Pilots, I think of just immediately, there's a whole checklist. Everything is a checklist. When they take off, there's a checklist. When they land, there's a checklist. When the motor, the engine, the jet engine quits working on the plane, there's a checklist. That's why the FAA rules say for commercial airlines that there has to be at least a minimum of two people in charge of that plane, a captain and a co-captain. The reason that is somebody's working the list, somebody's doing the activity, and vice versa. They exchange activities, depending on what it is. One person's the inside of the plane, another person might be outside the plane. As far as the mechanics, the operational, the flight control, somebody else is the inside controlling, when they let you know what certain things are happening in and about the plane. Everything has a checklist. So as you're going through this mental checklist of your life and your mission statement and your why and what you're going to do today and how you're going to tackle it, all this stuff aligns. Get in the habit of doing that. That is a huge jumpstart to being ahead of the competition for sure. Because not everybody's doing it. Again, they're like I used to be. They turn on YouTube, turn on music, watch videos, scroll through the social sites, looking at what's the TikTok. So it's all of that's distracting you from thinking about your day and what lies ahead of you. And again, depending on when you do this, some of the early risers listening to this, you're doing this at 3, 4 in the morning. Yeah, you're ready to go by 7. I was there. I did that. My times have adjusted a little bit, but because I find that more of my time comes at the end of the day where I'm most productive after I've gained a bunch of information. I want to tackle that task. I want to take care of it before I go to bed. I'm not going to save it till the next day. So I'm that person that stays up late. I also wake up late, but I follow the same routine that when I get up, I have quiet time. I go through my checklist. I get my day started. So when you see me at my new 7 a.m., which is much later now, you're seeing me primed and ready to go, right? I'm at my peak state at that, let's call it 7 a.m. hour. That's where you want to be every day. Even personally, again, this isn't always applied. I know many of the things I speak about can be applied to business, but the same thing. If you tackle your financial affairs and do all of this stuff, how much more time can you now devote to the family and to be a participant in those daily activities which lie ahead instead of saying, oh, I have to take care of this because I postponed it. Now I'm at a deadline and I have to take care of it today, and I can't be social with the family and I have to bypass some pretty important events. So again, just getting into these personal habits can both affect your personal life and your business. An important thing is establish a bedtime ritual. Like I said, before I go to bed, I make sure that all my tasks are taken care of. And if it's something that obviously couldn't be taken care of because I was up late at night and the world's not, that the first thing I'm going to do is make that phone call. The things that need to be done that day will be taken care of then. Ensure you're getting enough rest, right? So don't get overwhelmed with the day, but almost relax. Like this can happen tomorrow and I'll take care of it and I'm good with that. Not a worry sense, but more of a preemptive sense of what lies ahead. You can also, I like to have that sense of accomplishment before I go to bed, knowing that things are done. I like to know what lies ahead for the day. And then I like to kind of go into that quiet wind down moment. I don't go directly to bed. I have a small meditation, a little bit of quiet time, a little bit of time to reflect what I've done, what I'm doing, and what I hope to achieve. Again, kind of a stating of the mission and the why and why I'm doing something and how I'd like to accomplish it. And maybe even in that meditative state, do a little futuristic dreaming, if you will, of what I look forward to happening. And this actually, again, by doing this prior to bedtime as part of your ritual, can lead to some pretty cool, vivid dreams because you're already setting this thought in process. So have a ritual of kind of winding down and don't just go from 100 miles an hour to stop and think you're going to go to bed effectively and efficiently, right? Consistent sleep patterns are important too. Go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. Your body will so much appreciate the fact that you're consistent with this activity. Again, you'll have some of the greatest night's sleep. Some people say, I don't know how so and so can only sleep 6 hours. I need 8. Well, some of it is because they're properly winding down, getting prepared for that sleep. They're watching their diet and things that are consumed prior to sleep to eliminate that restlessness. And they're going to sleep effectively. I think that was a whole nother cast that we might have done before that discussed sleep, but really the rule of thumb is 3 and 3. You can remember anything, remember 3 and 3. 3 hours for head repair, 3 hours for body repair. Consistently grab that same 6 hours out of the 24 that you have each day. You will be amazed at the life-changing effects that it will have for you by having that consistency. I know it sounds weird. Give it a try. Leave something in the comments in the chat if you're already experiencing something like this. Look forward to your feedback. But again, I don't teach theory, I teach from experience. The stuff that I've learned, I'm sharing with you. Consistency is very important when it comes to sleep. So wind down, good 6 hours of sleep consistently every day, and then have that quiet time of waking up. Don't just jump out of bed and go 100 miles an hour. Start working into those thoughts and consistent patterns. Can we agree on that? Great. By the way, if you like what you're hearing or know someone that would appreciate it, click like and subscribe. Certainly would appreciate having more people follow us because, again, this is all about you. This is sharing what I've learned and understood through painless life events. I want to share it with you and maybe help shorten the curve for you so that your success happens much sooner than mine. Now, take regular breaks. When you're getting into your tasks and activities, take short breaks. You want to take these breaks maybe 25 minutes, 30 minutes after getting through some intense work. Take a 5-10 minute break and step away. This helps to maintain some mental clarity. Step away from the workstation that you're at, the workbench, your desk, your office. Step out. One of the things I used to always do was, and it was a little bit of a hike. It was kind of down the hall. I didn't appreciate necessarily because it consumed so much time to go down the hall and get to where this area was in the corporate space that I worked in for a while. But it was also good exercise. So I'm not complaining. It was more, I didn't feel like it was the best use of time. But I was, when I was making calls and talking with clients and negotiating and whatnot, after about 20-30 minutes, I'd stand up, give myself a little bit of a stretch, shake my legs out, step out from my office, walk down the hall. There was a glass, it was the corner of the building, but there was a glass room that you could look out over the city. And it was kind of the break area, if you will, and the coffees and teas and the refrigerator and whatnot was available with tables and chairs. And I didn't sit down because I wasn't going to be there long, but I would go and grab maybe a shot glass, I guess, of tea, make a quick cup of tea. And sometimes I'd finish it, other times take it back to my desk, finish it there, but then it was the walk back to the desk. And that usually consumed a good 5-10 minutes. Sometimes I'd run into a colleague maybe get some daily insight from them of maybe things I shouldn't be doing or glad I'm not doing, or maybe understand a little bit of what they're doing and if it was something I could implement in my business. But most of the time, I really appreciated that the break room was kind of empty. The reason I share this with you is I found, again, getting up away from the space, sometimes just standing in this glass wall, two of the walls were glass, and just to kind of look out, look at the traffic. They were building a building next door for almost 2 years. I mean, it was pretty crazy how long it took just to dig up to make the foundation. But um, just to kind of see something outside of the window away from my desk. And I was like, oh, okay, look, boy, they're coming along. Go back to my desk, sit down, couple sips of tea, and was completely in a different mindset. I also found that those 20 to 30-minute intervals was about where I negotiated my tasks to be. So say I was making some phone calls. I would make my phone calls in 30 minutes. Part of this life hack, if you will, is as I designed, okay, I'm going to do calls for 30 minutes, take a break, come back. I'm going to do emails 30 minutes, take a break, come back. Not that I got up and drank a lot of tea. Sometimes it was just walking to the copy machine, which, by the way, was the other direction from the break room down the hall, half the distance, but still it was a break and it was away from my desk because I'd kind of save up all that stuff and make that trip. But what I did find, and I'm sharing this with you, is once I pretty much negotiated and said, look, I'm going to spend 30 minutes on the phone. If I had 10 calls to make, I wasn't spending a lot of time on the phone. So once you start developing this habit and you start to negotiate with yourself to say, okay, I'm only going to devote 30 minutes on the phone. Well, if you spend 20 minutes talking to the same person and sort of allowing them to consume your time with a lot of their information, you only got one call out of 10 made that is either going to extend into after your break or it's going to make your day long. I'll just say it that way. So, a life hack is if you're going to kind of have those nuggets of time and take a break, find a new task when you come back. And maybe you have to extend this to 40 minutes. I don't know about your business or the time it takes to get certain things done. Adjust as you need to. I'm just giving you some good averages that worked for me was 25, 30 minutes on the phone. I was done, took my break, came back. Now I did emails, 25, 30 minutes of emails. I was done. There you go. There's an hour of my day, two tasks done, and two breaks managed. Now I can go do something else. It tightens your day up a little bit, but remember, you started your day with about 3 hours of personal activity, whether it was working out, meditating, self reflection, all of that stuff to get you ready for, remember, the 7 a.m. hour, where now you're ready to get out and compete with the world. So if you can now negotiate to get these several tasks, call them desk tasks, office tasks, taken care of by, say, 10, 11 a.m., guess what? Now you got the rest of the day to go do stuff. And quite frankly, that's what I did. By 11, maybe 12 o'clock, take care of a few other office things, like maybe I'd go down, huddle up with my administrative assistant to make sure things were being taken care of. By 11 or 12, I was out doing mobile appointments and meeting with folks through the afternoon. Kind of the same theory, roughly 30 to 40 minutes. If we weren't putting pen to paper that day, I was moving on and we'd follow up another day. And again, I had a checklist for the processes by which I went through. This was a lot specifically in sales with both real estate and with insurance. So by 5 o'clock, my day was pretty much complete and I had gotten a lot accomplished. So sharing with you, getting started early, hitting that 7 a.m. theoretically hour, off and running, keep your tasks tight, move on to the next. move on to the next, and then have that free time throughout the day. There's something to be said. I believe it's the Italians that take a siesta, and they take like a 2 hour break in the middle of their day. I know that sounds weird, but I think they also, as I just mentioned, they focus on the early time. They focus their energy to get things done so they can take that break. So then they come back and they either go back to the same tasks or pivot something different. But wow, 2 hours away from something is extremely refreshing. I kind of did that a little bit. Like I said, most of my desk and office things were taken care of by 11. Usually by 12, 1 o'clock, I was out on the road doing something. So if I did want to go grab a coffee or a lunch with someone that was completely outside of getting things done, if you will, maybe more of a social activity, that that seemed to really, that was some of the better days, was just having lunch either with a client or a random friend. Many times clients would just, check in. Hey, can we have lunch? Curious to see how things are going, what's going on. And you know what I found was I was more relaxed at those events because it wasn't a traditional meeting where we were discussing anything that we were doing business wise. And I'll share with you this. Once I started connecting the lines, so many times those follow up conversations with clients were actually renewed interviews. They knew someone who was looking for what I did, and they were reaching out to me to have lunch to see how engaged. They were measuring up my engagement level. Am I still in the business? Am I still doing top notch work, or did I level out? Um, and I discovered this because I remember one client asked me, hey, what do you think of this new thing? And like a week before, I had learned about it. Again, I was always seeking knowledge then. And I had learned about it, kind of got the gist of it. And I was like, yeah, got a couple of posts up and doing this and doing that. And it's really going to be an innovative tool. It was Instagram at the time, I believe. This was early 2000s. And they're like, wow, that's impressive that you know that. And I was like, well, you got to kind of stay on top of these things. And the next day, I got a phone call from someone that said, hey, they just mentioned you, said I should give you a call. We're looking to do this. And I kind of started putting the lines together and I was like, hey, that was an interview. But I was relaxed. I wasn't like cutting them short. They were really impressed by the fact that I was busy, yet I wasn't pushy to be like, look, I only have 20 minutes to eat lunch with you and then I got to get going. Is that I actually was relaxed and took time to just hang with them. So I- I'm not sure who said it. I've read it several times, but it's the work that you do when people don't see what it is that you're doing is what's most important. Like I said, at the office, I was hammering things out 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, and out taking care of things. You do that on a regular basis, your production level will go way, way out of the box because you're taking care of so much on a repetitive level. I almost want to say it's a little bit like compound interest, is just like those little things that you're doing eventually build up to something big. But I get on tangents and I don't want to go there, but you understand what I'm saying. This is a life hack course. Those little things matter. So take care of it. You'll find that taking these little breaks will also, prevent burnout, and it keeps the creativity flowing. Like I said, especially if you come back to a new task and now you have a new thought idea, you're going to sort of start that new project a little better. And be honest with yourself. Have have a few things at the ready. Not clutter your desk, but just have some things at the ready. So when it comes to looking for that creative idea, you're looking for um, a new marketing option. You're looking for a new strategy, maybe a new way to announce sort of your mission or how to incorporate something into your mission, some new identity that you've discovered is important to you. How do you want to incorporate that into your mission? If it's something like that that's going to require some deep thought, quite frankly, if you're a couple of minutes into it and you're just staring at the blank page, have something else at the ready and just be honest with yourself and accept the fact today's not the day for that task. Set it aside and go to something that's pressing. It'll still be there. It'll still be at the ready until it's solved. But that was one of the other things I found was if you spend every day looking at the same daunting task and not getting an answer, therefore you're not getting it accomplished, and then you say, oh, I'm still working on this plan, and it's several months later, you've missed out on a lot of valuable time from the aforementioned advantage of those half-hour increments. Does that make sense? So again, if something just isn't clicking, you're just not feeling creative that day, take the authoritative liberty to set that aside, have something else at the ready. You should always have at least 3 options at the ready, sort of your toolbox folder. Grab the folder, have one folder on your desk, and just open it up and have it 1, 2, 3, have them marked. And this one idea that I don't want to say struggle, but has a greater challenge to it, is still in the folder. You haven't discarded it, but it's also not on the top. And keep kind of theoretically putting it on the bottom, and you'll get to it. You'll have that creative moment where you'll look at it and within 1 to 3 seconds be like, yes, this is the thing I'm working on today because now I'm ready. And you'll know you're ready. But to sit there and keep kind of churning through it every day and looking at it, staring at it like a mood ring, thinking that it's going to give you the answer every single day you look at it, that's not the case. And it's going to disrupt your flow. So there's a hack for you right there. If it's not coming to fruition right away, feel free to set it aside, get back to it at another time. It'll still be there. It's always in the folder. Unless you feel that something drastically has changed, then you completely discard it and it's out of the folder, then it's no longer a concern. But the fact that you had the original idea means it's somewhat important. You just kind of need to wait for that next step to see how to implement it. And it may be waiting until that lunch that you come up with that spark of an idea from someone that you either go back to your office, revisit the folder and tackle that task knowing you have a solution, or you come back the next day after you've ruminated on it, you've slept on it, you woke up and thought about it, and you come to work and go, where is that page? It's in my folder. That is the task I'm going to absolutely beat everything out of because I'm ready. I'm flexed. You've been working out with this thing. You got some new insight, some creativity from some conversation. Now you're ready to tackle it. And you'll know when that happens. As I mentioned, stretching, do some light exercise if you have to. Maybe even jump around, get your heart rate up a little bit. It may be going to the stairwell and tackling a couple flights of steps and coming back. It may be just some stretching in your chair. Any kind of physical movement is going to get your blood flow going. And I think we all know that as blood's moving around the body, it's also going through the brain. That is what's going to create those ideas. And it's going to reinvigorate both the body and the mind. And that, again, is where taking that 5-minute break, stretching, exercising, getting the system sort of rebooted again with that flow of the blood and a stretch of the muscle, and then you come back and tackle that task with fresh, new ideas at your maximum potential. Again, as I mentioned, prioritize your tasks. There's something to be said for having a calendar. There's something to be said for having a checklist. There's also something to be said to have kind of a to-do list that has a level of priority. There's several apps out there, some programs out there that will help you do this. that are sort of like virtual assistants. So if you have the flow set up, there's just a simple checklist like the daily things that you do that you can do and check them off. But you always want to apply that 80-20 rule. Focus on the 20. That's the 20% of tasks that deliver 80% of the results. Complete your most pressing task first to ensure that urgent, or important work doesn't get sidelined. Again, as I mentioned earlier, if you have something that you're kind of struggling with, something that's a little bit more challenging than anything else, your time is valuable. Set it aside. It's just not that time. It's not that it's a bad idea. It's just not that time. And it's not delivering you anything at this moment, so it needs to be set aside. Focus on 20% of the tasks that deliver. You're looking at your return on investment, right? You want the actions that bring you results. Take care of those first. Then if you have some spare time in the day, maybe you don't have appointments outside the office like I did, and maybe there's that hour between 2 and 3, things are kind of quiet, phone doesn't ring, office isn't busy. Maybe you can go back to that task that requires a little bit more quiet. You can earmark it for that. But if it's not important and doesn't necessarily require that you spend your high trained and tuned energy from the first of your day when you're in a peak state, set it aside. Come to it in the afternoon, after a few breaks, after your midday siesta. Come back. Now you've got a different mindset for tackling it. If it all of a sudden becomes part of the priority stack, absolutely put that top of the deck. When you show up at your 7 a.m. ready to go, that's your first task. But determine that. Identifying that as a high impact activity. Now you're kind of cheating the system, right? That's what this is all about, is making those realizations to what's important, take care of first, not so important, set aside, not to forget. Remember, like I said, those tasks that just aren't getting solved, don't disregard them. Put them back in your daily folder, look at them again. And again, you don't want this folder to get too overwhelming. If you start adding things and now you have this folder that's so high you can't see out the window of your office, you can't see the clock, and nobody can see you, well, now you're just collecting ideas and you're not really finding solutions. You're not taking care of your business. This folder should really only contain 3 to 5. I'll even let it slide with 8 ideas. It's it could be a pouch, could be a folder, it could be a whatever it is, but it's not a lot. Again, it's kind of a running list. You're doing something, have the idea, you put it digital, you get rid of the paper, and you move on. This isn't, we're not collecting anything in this folder. It's almost a funnel, if you will. And use a systematic approach, right? Write down tasks in order of the urgency or importance. Like I said, there's some digital tools out there that you can use, some AI assistants that are out there, some collaborative tools where teams work together. Again, I don't want to get too deep into it for this particular episode, but if you're working with a team where you have assistants, you're going to have your list, they're going to have their list. So you're all tackling sort of your individual lists of tasks for your business. Utilizing this systematic approach, each person has their level of urgency and importance that they're taking care of things, and together you're getting things accomplished throughout the day. And you can set this up in the system where something that isn't as important is always at the bottom of the list, that it's always falling as the last task of the day. And quite frankly, if it's one of those lesser important things that may only get done once a week and gets bypassed so much of the time, that's okay. You're able to see the results of your focus activities versus the focus of not so important activities. And you may also, here's a little bit of a business hack, is you may also start to see a trend where this is just a task that doesn't fit in the day. And if it doesn't hold any level of importance, well, quite frankly, maybe it's time to give that task the old boot and send it on its way. Maybe it's not something that's the best use of your time. Maybe it's not providing any value to your business. And quite frankly, it's more of a speed bump than something that's helping you travel faster. So that being said, yeah, there's something to be said for looking back and analyzing whether or not those particular tasks, again, are they important, and the urgency behind their importance. So take a look at that. And again, that will help filter through your file. Again, we're keeping it 3 to 5, sometimes 8 of tasks per day. Anything more than that, you're going to find yourself outworking yourself, and that's not really sustainable. So always sort of have the 3 to 5 floating. And anybody who's in business, um, there's certain things I guess you just can't pass to your assistant, and that's email. But let me share with you that don't get overwhelmed with email. That's almost as deep of a rabbit hole as the social media aspect with your phone. Is pretty soon you're going through a couple of emails that turn into something that turn into something. Again, devote a half-hour time to it and move on. And remember, you got a half hour. You can get through 20 emails or you can get through one. Goes back to the decision of take care of 20% of the 80% income generating activities for your business. Consider the time blocking, as we mentioned, in your schedule, allocating the specific windows for deep work, administrative tasks, as well as breaks. Now, it may be that your business has a big project coming up, or you want to look at reevaluating something, and this may happen quarterly or yearly, in which case you may block out a whole afternoon of just tackling this task. And that's fair, right? We're talking about business building activities that maybe you're getting towards the fourth quarter and you're starting to strategize what does next year look like? What are things you're going to implement? Maybe there's a new system that's in place that everybody needs trained. So whether it's live or Zoom or whatever, that you're going to spend a good 2, 3 hours going through the system so that everybody knows what their role is and where they fit in the system and what they are expected to do in the system, and maybe those parameters that set up what they're not responsible for in the system. That's great. And don't forget, you want to throw a couple of breaks into those 2, 3 hour blocks of training as well. Again, it's the sacrifice, but keep in mind, you're putting it on the calendar. You're sticking to the schedule. Is if it's a 2 hour sort of class session, you're not going to sit around and talk about what everybody's doing for the weekend. You're going to focus on the class. Because again, the sooner you get that accomplished, the sooner you can move on and be productive, getting your return on investment, not only from the system and process, but from the people you have doing it, the implementation that it's putting in place for your business. So it's not always the 30-minute rule, but just remember to time block things and don't turn a 2 hour training session into what becomes a 5 hour meet and greet, and the entire afternoon is shot in time because you didn't spend it focused, taking breaks, coming back, being collaborative, and moving on to say, hey, there's another task. There's another task. I'm a little bit of a calendar junkie. I like to see something next on the calendar. Not that I need to tackle it today, but just that there's something in the future. I like space filled in the calendar. And it lets me know that today's thought's not the last thought. But it does bring me to my final thought, which is you don't need a complex system to work smarter. Often the simplest solutions, eliminating distractions, rising early, breaking work into chunks, and prioritizing effectively are enough to significantly boost your productivity. The key is consistency. Embedded in these habits into your daily routine, and you'll find it easier to stay on track, manage stress, and accomplish more in less time. I hope you found this episode helpful, as I felt helpful sharing it with you. In fact, it brought back some really great stories of the activity that I experienced in my life. If you enjoyed this episode, click like or subscribe if you already haven't. Again, we get our sponsorship from viewers like you. Remember, Ask Adam is to always seek knowledge. Now let's go out and make it a great day.